Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. In this one, I wanted to kind of explore the idea of a possible Vikings-Jets trade involving defensive end Danielle Hunter. Okay, now, funny enough, I actually did a video on this maybe like 3-4 weeks ago, but it couldn't export, so I ended up just scrapping the idea, but I wanted to revisit it, right? We have multiple reports here that not only are the Vikings just trying to part ways with their bigger contracts on the roster, but there's even been a report just outright stating that the Vikings are trying to trade Hunter at this point. Now, there's a lot of pros, a lot of positives, but there's also a couple drawbacks, some things that we would have to not necessarily worry about, but just a couple of red flags that I feel like should address here. So let's talk about the positives first. This is not hyperbole. This isn't, me trying to hype him up or over-exaggerate here. When Danielle Hunter first got to the NFL and he started producing with the Minnesota Vikings, specifically from 2016 through 2019, right, where he recorded double-digit sacks in 16, 18, and 19 with 14.5 in both 2018 and 2019, he literally looked like he was on the path to becoming a Hall of Famer. Okay, being so young, middle round pick, third round pick out of LSU, he was destroying. He was absolutely lighting up tackles on a week-to-week basis, getting in the backfield. And he wasn't just some one-trick pony type of pass rusher. No, he was constantly getting in the backfield. He's a physically imposing individual at 6'5", 240 pounds. Danielle Hunter is an absolute animal when he is on the football field. And you could be asking, why would the Vikings be trying to trade a young, productive player that has been flat out awesome for the team? That kind of sends a message of rebuilding, but then on the flip side, they go out and they re-sign or they extend Kirk Cousins to a one-year $35 million move. That signals win now. And it's hard to put my finger on what exactly the vision or what the goals are for the Vikings moving forward. Obviously, they have a brand new regime in the building, new general manager, new coaching staff, and I think a lot of this Hunter, speculation has to do with the money and, of course, the system fit. We're going to get into both. I mean, we take a look at where Hunter had the most success in his early playing days with the Vikings. It was as that true 4-3 defensive end, right under Mike Zimmer. By the way, I'm a big fan of Mike Zimmer's defensive scheme. It's aggressive. I really, really like it. But that's where Hunter shined, okay? And there's reports coming out that the Vikings are actually going to be transitioning to a 3-4 style of defense. Okay, so does Hunter fit that 3-4? Is he in the plans long-term of the Vikings? Maybe. But what we do know is that Hunter would be theoretically a better system fit for what the Jets want to do defensively than what the Vikings are planning on doing for this upcoming season, okay? If you take Hunter and you put him as that true 4-3 D-end in Saleh's scheme, this is a guy that I feel like could just absolutely wreak havoc. Saleh actually has a pretty good track record of development of players, really physically gifted players at defensive end, right? I mean, just going back to San Francisco, like these guys pop up out of nowhere. Okay, so you like the system fit, you like the upside, you like the age, you like the size, the speed, the explosion, the production, so many things here to like with Danielle Hunter. Let's talk about some of the drawbacks, though, because, I mean, by the sound of it, it's like, yeah, like we should give up whatever it takes to go get Danielle at this point, given the need at edge. But here are a couple red flags. He only played in 7 games last year due to a torn pec. The year before that, he was out the entire season because of a neck injury. So from 2015 through 2019, he was electric. He was great, right? Constantly, again, on pace to become a Hall of Fame player. But then, bam, neck injury happens, out the entire season, finally comes back, pec injury happens, out the year after 7 games. Where do we stand with the injuries right now? This is, he's a couple years older from when he was actually just lighting teams up, albeit he actually did look pretty good last season in the time that he actually played, 6 sacks in those 7 games. I mean, that's pretty damn good, especially when we take a look at where the Jets stood last season with sacks. I mean, that's an instant upgrade immediately, right? I would take Hunter's production last year in those 7 games and stack it up to guys that played, a full season with the New York Jets last year, and it would look pretty comparable, okay? So it would be no doubt that Hunter, would come in and be that day one upgrade, but we do have to take into account the injuries. The neck injury, torn pec, will he get hurt again moving forward? It is a couple years here in the future, so he's not going to be 24, 25 years old. He's going to be 28. Another drawback is that he's owed $18 million as a roster bonus that kicks in the 5th day of the new league year, which is this Sunday. Okay, so ideally, the Vikings would want to move him by then, and in all, right, the entire 2022 cap hit is $26.1 million, so a lot of money. We look at the Jets defensive line, we've already invested a lot of money there, but it's kind of, we're in a tough spot because it's still not a complete unit. I mean, Carl Lawson is owed over $15 million for this season. John Franklin Myers over $12 million. We put the 5th-year option on Quinnen Williams, so that's over $10 million. Sheldon Rankin, $6 million. We just brought in Martin from Houston. That's a minimal contract. I think it's just under $3 million as a 2022 cap hit. And by the way, the draft isn't even here yet. So if the Jets fall in love with one of these pass rushers, whether it's a Kayvon Thibodeau, a Jermaine Johnson, maybe Aiden Hutchinson falls, Karloff, whoever it may be, if the Jets draft another defensive end in the 1st or even 2nd round, we still have to invest some money there. Okay, so it's still not a complete unit. All in all, we're looking at a ton of money. Now, thankfully, a lot of these contracts that Joe Douglas has brought in for 2022, it's not that detrimental this season. 2023, there's a lot of pretty big cap hits, but as far as this season is concerned, we can afford to add a big name guy, right? Like, we could still afford to bring in a pretty sizable contract for this upcoming year, which I think is, I mean, it's awesome, right? First and foremost, but I think it gives the Jets a little bit of a leash to maybe go out and trade for a player, maybe a DK Metcalf, maybe a Brandon Cooks, maybe a Danielle Hunter here, whoever it may be. We could afford to do this. Now, of course, we would have to give up something in return, and I would expect the compensation for, Danielle Hunter here is around a middle round pick. I wouldn't personally, I would not give up a 1st round pick for Hunter. I'm not doing it. I don't feel comfortable. But I would say a middle round pick, especially with the sense of urgency that Minnesota has to trade him, and the fact that it's well known that Hunter is probably going to be on the move here. I would also watch the New York Giants as a team to land Danielle Hunter. But one more thing I wanted to bring up, because I do feel like it's relevant. There were reports saying that Danielle Hunter felt that he was underpaid because he signed a contract before the start of those dominant seasons back in 2018 and 2019. And I mean, obviously the Vikings weren't going to go out and, pay him more with 3 years left on his contract that he just signed. So take that how you want it. I definitely feel like it's an interesting point that should be talked about. But yeah, Danielle Hunter at the end of the day could be moved here. And yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section on if the Jets should or shouldn't trade Danielle. I think for me, if he becomes a New York Jet, and if we rework the contract a little bit, I would love to have him. Although the injuries are somewhat, I don't want to say problematic, because he did show that he could play post neck injury. In those 7 games, he did have those 6 sacks. But I think it is a little bit more risky than acquiring, one of these other superstar style of players that could possibly be moved. And again, for me, I'm not trading away a 1st round pick. I want to keep 4 and 10. I'm not trading 4, but I think it's spot number 10. Unless you get an offer that just completely blows you away, you're landing a superstar in return, I want to hang on to 10. Right? Unless that happens, I'm hanging on a spot number 10. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.